Hey everybody, how you doing today? Today I'm going to do another portion of my Spyderco Manix monthly series. This month I will be actually cleaning this knife. I've been carrying this mostly every day, if not every day, and staying in my pocket for that amount of time. It's been collecting a lot of dust and gunk, so it's about time for a cleaning. I've done this once before. It's a fairly simple process if you do it the way I'm going to show you. Just getting into it, you'll need I think a T10 and a T8 Torx bit. I use a couple little pieces of paper towel, and at the end I'll be using a little bit of 3-in-1 oil. Just getting into it. I always do like to start with the side that doesn't have the pocket clip. Basically, that's the side that has the machine pivot. It's easier to get your action bang on, so that means no side to side, no up and down play once you do put this back together. Just getting into it, I'll loosen up everything. I'll take out the 2 body screws first on the side that doesn't have the pocket clip. Gonna actually take these off this little S clip, make it a little easier on myself. Take off this upper body screw. And then last I'll take out the pivot screw. I was surprised the first time I actually took this apart and cleaned it how simple the process actually is. You remove these 3 screws, the 2 body and the 1 pivot screw, and I do open up the knife for this portion. Being careful at this point, because you are working around a sharp blade, you just want to pop this top scale off, gently lift it up so it clears the cage ball bearing lock, and simply rotate it out. So you see the inner workings there. I'll try to give you a nice close-up of that. But you also see all the gunk that's collected here. Also, a nice fact about this is when you take this apart, there is a date stamp. You won't be able to see that unless you open up your knife. So this was made in 9/13/2013. So all I do to clean it is take one of those squares of paper towel, I fold it over a couple times, and I'll just wipe off that debris. You do want to be careful. I always just put my finger on top of this ball bearing lock so it just doesn't spring out. It has a really good traction in there, like it won't just slip out easily, but I don't want to take any chances. Just going to wipe out a lot of this crud that's in here. I'm not going to take up these washers because they're really thin and I don't want to bend one. Plus you don't really need to take them up to clean it. So just wiping it down. I'll grab that 3-in-1 oil, tear off a little bit of that paper towel again, and what I do now is I'll just put a few drops on the end of this, let it soak in a little bit, and that's basically so I don't put too much oil back onto this. You don't want to load the oil into your pivot. It'll just attract more dust and actually bog down the action of your knife. So all I'm going to do is just give it a couple taps. I'll try zooming in to give you a close-up. So I'll just put a couple dabs around And you really don't need lots for this. The action on this knife is pretty bang on, really smooth anyway, so you just want to put a little bit to reduce wear. And then also I'll just wipe off the underside. I don't like flipping this knife over when it's disassembled like this. You're just wiping the back off. And then putting it back together is pretty much the same thing. Got a hair there. Putting it back together is pretty much the same thing. You just lift up that handle scale gently so it clears that cage. Rotate it till it slips back in. Sort of press it together. And reinstall all your hardware. I'll do it usually in the reverse of how I took it apart, so starting with the pivot screw. When you're putting these screws back into, you want to be careful not to strip them. Spyderco really does heat treat their screws so they are hardened, but it's still possible to strip your screws out, so always be careful. And I'm not going to torque these down fully just yet. I'm just going to put them all in semi-tight, just sort of finger tight without torquing them down. Like I was saying, guys, sorry about that, my battery died. Like I was saying, I'm not going to torque these down just yet. Basically, you want to put them all in like I have here, and then just snug them all down relative to each other. So just closing out the blade so I don't cut myself. Tightening these down a little bit. Helps if I have the right size. So just finger tight is how I'm tightening these. And then I'll move on to the other side. And lastly, the pivot. No blade play. And then you do the same for the other side. So remove your screws, starting with the body screws. It's a very simple process to clean this knives. I've had other knives that I've taken apart and cleaned, and it's an hour to 2 hour process for me. I don't know why I find liner locks tough to take apart and clean, but I do. I've screwed up one of my buck knives, a buck Vantage that I had, and had to bring it back. Just doing the same on this side, lifting that scale up gently and rotating it. I'll grab that piece of paper towel, just wipe off this back area. You seen that washer just pop out? So I'll put that back in. I'll wipe off the gunk on this side. Grab some of that oil, just apply it to the tip. Put a little bit on. Put a little bit on this underside here. Just dab it off a little. Put a little too much on. And the same process, just lift up that scale, close it up, give it a little gentle squeeze, make sure everything's together well. Grab your pivot screw, pop that in. Just line it up. Tighten it down somewhat. 2 body screws. The upper one. And then the last one. When I did take apart this knife the first time, there was blue Loctite on all these screws. I have cleaned them up and removed all the older Loctite, and I'm looking to buy some blue Loctite for securing these screws. I found when you do flick it open and close, it does loosen up these body screws a little bit. But that's basically the way you take apart a Manix to clean it. Actions just as smooth, if not smoother than it was before. It drops freely, and there is no blade play. Really awesome knife, really awesome to clean and maintain. It's one of the reasons that this knife is so popular. So thanks for watching this video, guys. If you wanted to clean your knife, I hope this helps you a little bit. Stay tuned for more, guys. Thanks. And what the hell, guys, while I got this open, I might as well take it all the way apart for you. You see the back spacer here? That's also where the ball cage lock goes. You can see that piece here. The little ball bearing just slips inside the one side, and that gives you your lockup. You see the handle portion. It's only held together by this lanyard tube. And your hardware and your blade, there's really not much to this knife once you take it apart. Not that many parts inside of it. Basically your blade, your handle and your liners, the polymer cage, the spring, the ball bearing, the back spacer, and your hardware.